Hello, everybody. We made it to Sunday. Congratulations. And also congratulations for getting all the way through some of the most harrowing episodes of the bear market. If you're here right now and you did any buying in the bear market, pat yourself in the back because it's not very easy. I know right now we can see some fluctuations in prices and it seems a little bit scary, but don't worry. Everything's going to be just fine. So today what I want to talk about is the whole moniker of sell in May and go away, and take a look at a historical reference and see if that is actually accurate, maybe something that we could do, and also just what the outcome could potentially be. So before we get into that, it just kind of comes down to this, because you might be asking yourself, geez, it seems like Rob sure does like to talk about selling, something that's like the last 3 videos, and you would be correct. I do like to sell when the time is right, but the reason why I'm talking about it right now, when we are obviously not in a position to potentially sell because of what's happening right now. Again, you can do whatever you want to, this isn't financial advice, but the reason why I talk about it is because I didn't do it justice in the last bull run, and I totally screwed up on the very first one in 2017. And it really comes down to this. There's a quote, and it talks about, it is after a big win you are most vulnerable for a big mistake. The bull run's coming. Here's the years. Nobody ever went broke taking profits. And the reason why I talk about this is because I think we've all felt this. We've all made a reasonably good decision to invest into some type of stock, bond, real estate, crypto, meme coin, you name it. We've been there and we feel like geniuses. And when it goes up that 2x, 4x, 10x, 100x, 1000x, or whatever you actually did, you feel invincible. And when you're at that point, which is going to happen again when we get into the next blow off top bull market, you're going to be like, you know what? This baby's never coming down. Just like this bear market can never go up. And this is why we talk about these things, to not allow the sell muscle to atrophy. And on a Sunday, not a bad time to do it. So this is what it all comes down to. Sell in May and go away. And the question I always have is like, is that like May 1st? Is that like May 31st? Is it October 15th? When is this? So this is from Monome Life. It talks about the time frame. And this is traditionally what people have talked about. You sell your equity, your stock portfolios, your stocks on or shortly after May 1st, then buy back those stocks after October 31st. And a lot of the literature that I've taken a look at, it's reasonably within that time frame. So again, remember this, May 1st to October 31st. And if we want to take a look at data, the best place we can see data would be from some of the traditional stock market or equities, because that has a lot more data than what we have in our crypto and digital assets, only been around since, of course, Bitcoin 2009. So what they took a look at over the last 10, 20, and 50 years, the buy and hold strategy versus the sell in May and go away. And this is what they found. Over 10 years of buy and hold strategy, the returns is 10.4%, 20 years 7.6, 50 years 7.2. As opposed to sell in May and go away, 5.5 to 6.7. So not too surprising. I think time in the market sometimes is more important than timing the market. Sometimes. I'm going to reference a couple of things here. But then if we take a look at it, traditional equities, I'm not going to bore you to death with a bunch of data, but it is something to note. What do you notice here? What is the biggest green month that you can see in this chart? I'm just going to leave it up here for a second. Yeah, and I will tell you before we get to the answer, of course. This is from 12 months, taking a look at between 1979 of September to 2022 of March. All the data, S&P 500. Best month is July. Now let me do some quick, May. Okay, so that's like smack dab in the middle almost. July is traditionally the best month. But Rob, we're not equities. We're not stocks. No, we're not bonds. We're not precious metals, we are crypto, and you would be absolutely 100% correct. So let's take a look at the monthly returns. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at Bitcoin, but I'm also going to break it down into the total market cap, because when we take a look at this data, I think we get a little too nuanced into Bitcoin versus altcoins. I don't know about you, but I've got a couple of altcoins bags packed. So maybe we could take a little bit of reference as to some data here, as to what could actually be well. So let's take a look at it. First of all, this April, if you take out April of 2024, take a look at I mean, the rest of the years, all the way back 2011, April is a fantastic month. Usually, before this one, you only had four red years of April. Everything else was all green. So of course, selling May would have made a lot of sense, because if you're selling towards on May 1st or so, well, you would have had some pretty nice gains, right? A lot of green over here, not too bad. And then you sell in May, everything starts to drop. And you go away for the summer, which is typically what we're talking about. And then October, look at October for Bitcoin. Those are sweet. Those are sweet numbers, right? I think October, if I'm not mistaken, is one of the best months besides February. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. October has some really great returns. So I don't care what you do, but for me, I don't want to miss some of these things. But here's the kicker. All these time frames are a little bit different for Bitcoin, and especially we're taking a look at the 4-year cycles, right? So right now we just had a halving, if I'm not mistaken. April 19th, 2024. If we go back 4 years, look at this. On April, and actually for that year of May, it was a green month. If we take a look at 2016, April and May were both green months. If you would sell in May 1st, on 2016, you would have missed 18% gains, 26% gains, -7, -8. You got me on that one. September 6 up, 14%, 6, and 30%. Well, of course, these 2 months don't count, November, December. So maybe not so great. How about 2020? Well, 2020, 34% in April. Sure, go away, but it went up 10%. I'd like that. But then in June, all right. And then July, like we talked about, 23%, 3%, down 7, got me on that one. And October, again, October 31st, you missed out on 28%. So maybe not so great. But then here's the whole thing. All this stuff that we talk about we're just talking about averages, and could it and would it and should it? Nobody knows. But for me, I just look at this and go, okay, let's say it's like 2022. 2022 was not a great year, right? We just came off of a massive high. We were printing money like crazy because that's what Americans do. And we had a great 2021. Into 2022, then we started to see a little bit of weakness. And there was a collapse. And for that year, we went down 17%, 15%, 38%. Imagine missing, and this is the thing, imagine missing this right here, as all the indicators showed us that it's going to crash, and not being able to scoop up some profits or scoop up some cheap crypto at this point, and just going away and not getting into it, and then coming back in October and a paltry 5%, 16 and 3. So again, when I take a look at this, I'm like, I don't know where you guys are going. And of course you can go away because you deserve it. You had a tough bear market. But for me, I'm looking at this and going, I don't think I'm going to sell everything and go away. If at anything else, I'll probably do what we talked about a couple of days ago, which is not DCAing, but dynamic dollar cost averaging as things start to turn maybe a little bit uglier. But it's anybody's guess. So there's that piece. And then lastly, before we go into the total market cap of Bitcoin and alts, if you would have done this last year, 2023 wasn't a bad year. It really wasn't. But again, sell in May. Here's April 29th. Let me blow this up. You got April 29th, May 1st. Sell in May at 28,000 and go away. Well, if you would have sold at 28,000, I mean, maybe you would have had some great profits. That's cool. But then coming over here to October 31st, you would have bought higher at 34,672. So, I mean, it could work. I mean, it could work out pretty well, honestly. If you would have bought Bitcoin at, say, like in 2016, like my friend Diddy from the Bitcoin family, for like 120, like $100 and a potato or whatever he bought it for, you'd have been up. And then you're just like, well, I sold everything and I got over here, but why even go through the hassle and pay for the fees? I'm just saying, to me, it doesn't really make too much sense. And then now let's take a look real quick at total market cap, and then we'll get into a little Q&A. I just look at this and I think the same thing. Now this is something I don't usually do, and I should have done this. which was take a look at the total market cap. Again, let's take a look at, well, April wasn't a great month for us either. Negative 11.73% so far. We're not out of April yet. But going back into the halving year, if we would have sold, it would have been a pretty good month, or this time frame. 34% here, down 4, down 26, but up 34%. You sold here, but in May, you're up 10%. Then you drop 2. But look at July and August, 29% and 12. I'll take it. Then September, which September is a crappy month most of the time, except for some reason last year it wasn't. And then you're up 16, 45, and 31. How about 2016? So you're in May here, you're in April, and you're up 3%. That's cool. And then you sell in May and go away, but you missed 23% in May. You missed 22% in June. You're down 4% in July. You're down 6% in August. But then you rally for some reason in September, I guess. 7, then you're up 10% in October. You missed it. So again, if I'm looking at this, I'm just thinking to myself, I don't think that's going to work out for me. Maybe you could take a look at this, but I don't see the positive of selling a man going away. I could be wrong. And that's why we have the Q&A, to sort this stuff out. So look, if you like today's video, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing. Everything we talk about is time sensitive.